Does any other member wish to be heard? The question is now on the amendment in the nature of a substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The question is now on favorably reporting H.R. 3358 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion, Mr. Burleson? A recorded vote is ordered. As previously announced, further proceedings on the question will be postponed. 890. All right. Our next item for consideration is H.R. 890, Guidance Out of Darkness Act. The clerk will please report the bill.
H.R. 890, Guidance Out of Darkness, Good Act, a bill to increase access to agency guidance documents.
Without objection, the bill should be considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Without objection, so ordered. The chair recognizes himself to offer an amendment in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will please report the amendment.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 890 as offered by Mr. Comer of Kentucky.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read and the substitute will be considered as original text for the purposes of further amendment. I recognize myself for 5 minutes for a statement on the bill and the amendment. I'm pleased to call up for consideration today my bill, H.R. 890, the Guidance Out of Darkness Act, or the Good Act. Regulatory guidance includes agency statements that, while not intended to have the force and effect of law, establish agency policies on statutory, regulatory, or technical issues. Because it communicates how an agency will administer the law and its programs, regulatory guidance has a significant effect on the public and the behavior of regulated entities. Regulated entities and the public should be able to know what an agency has said in agency guidance about the laws and programs that affect them. And here's the problem. Agency guidance documents are not easy to find. The problem is so bad that agency guidance documents are known as, quote, regulatory dark matter, end quote. Prior to the Trump administration, guidance documents were not consistently posted on agency websites. This inconsistency burdened regulated entities. And small businesses who often lack the resources to hire compliance experts are especially negatively impacted. For a brief time, the Trump administration brought needed sunshine to this situation. Following the Good Act's passage by the House during the 115th Congress, President Trump voluntarily adopted the bill's reforms through an October 2019 executive order after the Senate failed to act. Under the executive order, guidance was required to become fully transparent online. Across the government, each agency was directed to make available on its website a single searchable index database with links to all guidance documents in effect. As a result, and for the first time, members of the public could easily find whatever agency guidance they needed online and in a central location. However, the Biden administration rescinded Executive Order 13891. Ever since, agencies have been pulling down their guidance web pages, and guidance has once again fallen into the darkness, increasing the potential for agency abuse. It's time the Good Act becomes law and agencies are required to publish the regulatory guidance in a single, easily accessible location. This will restore agency guidance document transparency. The American public deserves nothing less from their government. I urge my colleagues to support this simple and necessary bill. I now recognize the ranking member for his statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that eloquent statement on behalf of the bill. I support H.R. 890. I appreciate the changes you've made to it since the committee last took it up. The bill would require agencies to publish guidance documents on a dedicated website and for the director of OMB to designate a single website where all guidance could be found. In many cases, these documents are already public information, and making them more accessible and more centralized in a public way is a good and transparent idea, so I thank you for that. I'm still moved by your statement that we could perhaps work together on reforming marijuana policy in the country. Mr. Chairman, I've got a bill that I want to show to you right away, which would keep our people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, safe from being denied security clearances because they admit to to having used marijuana even lawfully under a medical marijuana program or in a state which permits it to be used. And this is a serious problem for my constituents. I imagine it's a serious problem for your constituents too, but I've gotten bunches of letters of people who've made it all the way through the federal government hiring process and then get cut off at the end when they tell the truth that they've used marijuana for a medical condition or if they've used it in some other way. So I'd love to show that to you, and I'd love to invite your participation in that with me. I've got a copy of it for you, and I yield back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank the ranking member. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the following documents: a letter to this committee in support of the Good Act from the Competitive Enterprise Institute, a letter to this committee in support of the Good Act from the National Taxpayers Union, a letter to this committee in support of the Good Act from the National Federation of Independent Business. Without objection, so ordered. Do any other members wish to be heard? The question is now on the amendment in the nature of a substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The question is now on favorably reporting H.R. 890 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the chair recognizes Mr. Burleson. A recorded vote has been requested and ordered as previously announced. Further proceedings on the question will be postponed. Our next item for consideration is H.R. 4435, the Unauthorized Spending Accountability Act, or USA Act. The clerk will please report the bill.
H.R. 4435, a bill to establish a budgetary level reduction